What's up, musicologists? This is Amari Music Talk. I'm Richard Cole, a very tired funk soloist. This actually, with the month of January, has been, well, a lot of things, but overall great and definitely worth the journey. Here we are into February. Hope you've been enjoying all the content, previous content. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're a longtime listener, welcome back. All right. So if you've seen the previous video regarding the billboard ad that the Prince Estate took out, that was recorded about a few weeks ago. So there's been a lot of interesting developments since then. I thought I was going to make a video on Friday, kind of as an update, but thanks to the scholar Michael Dean, actually who dropped a bit of knowledge through a link to a Star Tribune or Minneapolis Star Tribune post regarding the status of the Prince Netflix documentary. Well, today he dropped another link to the latest Minneapolis Star Tribune article by John Bream. So actually, shout out to Michael Dean for the leaks. Shout out to John Bream, who's sort of the Prince equivalent from Walter Cronkite. He is the most trusted man in the music or Minneapolis music journalism. So shout out for, two amazing scoops. But the one I want to address is the one that dropped today or that was leaked today. And that is the status or the final status of the Prince Netflix documentary. And I'm here to say that we will not see it. The Prince Netflix documentary has now become the Black Album of documentaries, or it's become the Black Album of Prince documentaries. So I kind of want to kind of go over the article a little bit, just kind of, for those that haven't had a chance to check it out. I also put a link in the description for it as well. But some things that, I want to talk about and some things that I'm very, very excited for the future with this. All right. So the article, the title is Controversial Prince Netflix Documentary Will Not Be Released. So Prince's estate and Netflix reach an agreement to quash, or should that have been squash, the 9-hour project. And again, shout out to John Bream. This was posted today on the news or on the newspaper site, February 6th today, 6:05 p.m. The article says it's official. The controversial 9-hour authorized Prince documentary directed by Oscar-winning Ezra Edelman for Netflix will not be released. The Prince estate and Netflix have come to a mutual agreement that will allow the estate to develop and produce a new documentary featuring exclusive content from Prince's archive. Netflix said in a statement sent Thursday to the Minnesota Star Tribune, as a result, the Netflix documentary will not be released. All right. The vault has been freed, Prince's account on X declared Thursday. Londell McMillan, co-manager of Prince Legacy LLC, told the Star Tribune on Thursday that the vault is free. It's a big, big win for Prince's legacy. Neither McMillan nor a Netflix spokesperson would comment on the terms of the agreement to squash the 5 years in the making Edelman documentary. All right. Also goes on to say that the original contract gave Netflix exclusive access to material, recordings, videos, films, photos, etc., in the vault of the Minnesota icon who died in 2016. All right. So if you've been watching the show, especially maybe the last dozen or so episodes, especially episodes regarding the status of the Prince estate and things like that. I know it started to get, for me, a little bit out of hand, kind of maybe the summer of last year, maybe sometime before that, because we weren't getting information from the estate about future releases, complaints about celebration and things like that. And again, I've always been what I would call cautiously critical, meaning that, I didn't want to come on and make just blatant statements about the estate because we don't know what's going on. None of us were on the inside. We know there's a lot of drama as far as who should run the estate. But if you've noticed the last few episodes, at the end of the day, this is a business. This is a business model. The subject, in this case, which is Prince, is no longer here to make those out of the box decisions, to bring us creative content. And I think a lot of us are pretty much, have accepted that fact, and that the Prince estate are now the custodians of all the intellectual property that is this man's body of work. And just reading that, I have to say that I am 100% on board with this, not only the decision, but the fact that apparently this holdup of material was much deeper than what we thought. I know I would always question, well, okay, well, obviously the stuff that they've used for the documentary, obviously that should be something that should be held up. For those that really don't know the context of how Netflix operates, the best example that I can give you is the Marvel or MCU shows that were on Netflix several years ago, actually almost 10 years ago starting, which was Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist. Okay, those Netflix and Marvel exclusive contract to say, hey, we want to produce these shows and put them on Netflix. So when Netflix decided to cancel those shows, I guess per some contractual agreement with Marvel, Marvel couldn't use those characters for about 3 years. So to give you some context of what or why the Prince material was held up because of this documentary, I'm assuming it was a similar situation, meaning that virtually every major release that was dependent upon some live footage or some vault tracks or alternate mixes. So you couldn't say have a Purple Rain box set if a lot of even snippets of unreleased vault tracks that even we haven't heard yet, film footage, video footage, concert footage, those would affect the quality of the box sets going forward. Like I said, whatever they use, that's understandable. But yes, we're talking a 9-hour documentary. We're talking the entirety of not only a man's life, but his career as well. So I guess virtually for this 9-hour documentary, no stone was unturned. Therefore, yeah, the estate's hands were tied in whatever they would release. Like I said, we knew that going in. We knew that from the beginning, but we probably just didn't know the magnitude, and we probably still don't know the magnitude. But considering that whatever negotiations took place to go ahead and shelve this project also guarantees that the estate can now use whatever unreleased track, vault track, alternate takes, concerts, film, and audio. All of that now is up for grabs, for the estate to use again. And again, like I said, as a fan of the business model, this will ensure that going forward, that we will get quality material from the Prince estate. And again, regardless of what you may think about those that are running it, right now, I would say this, they do have a degree of experience with the music business. They've made pretty much some solid deals, whether it's or continuing solid business relationships, whether it's Sony Legacy, whether it's Warner Brothers. Um, so long as that keeps things coming out, then that's fine. Like I said, hopefully all the beef and everybody within the Prince Estate camp can get along. Like I said, Primary Wave, they're about their business, so they're not into the he say, she say, or they're not part of the squabbling of, the ones that are fighting for control over the estate. But at least it's not prohibiting them, and obviously through this negotiation, it's not prohibiting them from continuing business. And again, like I said, that has been one of my major concerns over the last several videos, that regardless of the he say, she say, regardless of, clapping back at this person or clapping back at that person or dividing the fan base, at the end of the day, business must continue. And in order to have a united fan base, then business must continue and continue to bring quality product. And glad this is now, glad this is squashed now. The Netflix documentary, as you also know, for years was my most anticipated documentary. But, I would say no more. Or I would say whatever the Prince estate, whenever they come out with their documentary, that is going to be my most anticipated project. So to continue on with this article, the original contract gave Netflix exclusive access to material, recordings, videos, films, photos, etc., in the vault of the Minnesota icon who died in 2016. The controversy over the documentary was discussed in depth in a September 8th story in the New York Times. Edelman had screened the 9-hour film for a handful of people, including Prince superfan Amir Questlove Thompson and representatives of the Prince estate. Prince's estate, now controlled equally by Primary Wave and Prince Legacy LLC after his surviving siblings sold their shares, was reportedly objecting to some of the specifics, such as coroner's photos, thus preventing its release per the original contract with Netflix. Okay, so this was sort of the deal breaker for me, because you can tell, and there's lots of documentaries of every icon imaginable, black or white, rock and roll, jazz, blues, hell, even a Mozart movie from, a few decades ago. You can tell tastefully, especially if the artist has had a demise in a way. There's numerous Jimi Hendrix documentaries that address his passing without autopsy photos, without going into major details, without conspiracy theories and things of that nature. There's plenty of that material that's available that you can see. And at the end of the day, what those documentaries do is celebrate, his life. And yes, his end was tragic, but it celebrates his life and the thing that he loved the most, which is the music. And a Prince documentary should reflect those same things. Like I said, it shouldn't be a whitewash. It shouldn't be a biased portrayal. It should be where you understand the human being, but you could do that without dragging through the mud. You can tell a balanced story without sensationalism. You can tell a balanced story without catering to the TMZ Kardashian crowd or whatever. You can do those things tastefully. And at the center, remember, this is a human being and the incredible gifts that that human being was able to express through the entirety of his career. So no, I didn't need to see the autopsy photos. I mean, I'm not a detective, I'm not, every time I think about this, I think about JFK, the movie, and Kevin Costner's character and everything that he went through to try to, get that out. Now, maybe one day I ask some questions, but again, what we don't need as Prince fans, not right now anyway, is if there's somebody that's a good enough detective or that's a good enough filmmaker that has the deductive reasoning to do that, and again, do it in the name of justice and not in the name of sensationalism, like I said, not catering to the TMZ crowd, but that legitimately cares about justice being done. If there's somebody out there that can do that or has the time to do that, then by all means, make that happen. But for a documentary that's supposed to celebrate the artistry and the genius and celebrate the man's entire career and life, no, we don't need autopsy photos. Like I said, there's been a lot of stuff where you could do a 911, you can play those recordings with a montage of the person's career, something like that. And, screen goes black and says, this happened, such and such, 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 such and such, and leave it at that. But then again, as the credits are going, reflecting on the life, celebrating the life, and celebrating the talent and the artistry, you could do those things. So again, one of my other criticisms was, as much as I've enjoyed Ezra Edelman's work, through that New York Times article, finding out that he wasn't necessarily a Prince fan and was searching for a narrative. First rule of documentaries is that, number one, you got to be passionate about your subject. That's rule number one. You look at the stuff that Michael Moore does, those are issues that he cares about. Anybody that, or the upcoming Sly and the Family Stone or Sly Stone documentary, Questlove cares about, Sly and the Family Stone and that history and that music. So regardless of, what anybody would think about it, hopefully it's good. Now, that is my most anticipated documentary this month right now. But at the end of the day, there's no question about how passionate he is for the subject. So with you not getting that with Ezra Edelman, yes, it's probably a good, as far as technical filmmaking or whatever you want to call it, a documentary by the numbers, I'm sure it's great. But if you're trying to find some kind of through line, now there was some things in that article that, yeah, I was kind of, I'm interested in the direction he was going, but to cap it off where you have, again, you don't need to see the dead body. I think I've seen a few Elvis documentaries in my lifetime, and I can't really remember, because there's one, or when I was a kid, there was this big thing with the what's the National Enquirer, and I think they had like the photos of the casket and stuff like that, and but I don't think you really see that. I mean, if anybody has seen any Elvis documentaries recently, I know some of the ones that I've seen, and these are years ago, I don't think you had that. I mean, you saw like the funeral outside, the people crying and some of the family members, things like that, but you didn't see them zooming in on the casket, and you didn't see the crime scene photos. You don't see that. So no, why would we want to see that in a Prince documentary? Why would they think, even if you're not a Prince fan, why would you think we would care to see something like that. That's shock and awe, and there's too much shock and awe going on, especially in times like these. There's too much of that, and too much of that is distracting people because they're too busy being in shock and awe to effectively, think about how to navigate through a lot of what's going on. But even with a Prince documentary, we don't need to see anything like that. So with the Netflix project shelved, Prince's estate has access to the vault, which could mean future recordings, videos, and films. We're excited to have the right to put a plan together, which is exciting for the fans and his legacy, McMillan said. And thankfully, we were able to reach an agreement with Netflix. McMillan's plans include a documentary, an in-depth piece that explores the complexities of the brilliant musical genius. He declined to discuss any details, but said there could be multiple documentaries. All right. And then, so the last part of it talks about the musical. Also, it does harken back to the Billboard magazine ad, which included a mention of the musical Tours of Paisley Park and a documentary in 2026, 2027. So here's the thing. So your average documentary, usually, from whatever you say, pre-production to final cut, final edit, you're looking at roughly about 2 years to accomplish. So as quiet as it's been kept, I guess. And like I said, the estate started really, really getting quiet. I would say, 2023, pretty much post Diamonds and Pearls box set, all of 2024, and now. So up until now, they've been pretty quiet. So had they been putting something in pre-production, or at least in the development stage? So now they have something developed or in development, and now they're ready to go into pre-production. And this being 2025, and thankfully early in 2025, I really wouldn't want to see anything rushed for 2026. I would probably speculate closer to 2027, and I would want them to get it right. And I'm hoping, yeah, if you're doing multiple documentaries, why not just go ahead and do like a multi-episode, if you guys can do 6 hours, if you can do it in 6 hours, do it in 6 hours. I don't know, would this be going to, like, now? We definitely probably wouldn't be going to Netflix at this point. So we're talking Apple TV, we're talking Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, Hulu. Of course, well, Hulu is owned by Disney. So could it be Hulu? Could it be Warner Brothers? You got all that Warner Brothers footage, Purple Rain, Parade, Graffiti Bridge, Batman. I would say probably Max would probably be your most logical place to see a multi-part documentary. Who knows? As this unfolds, we will be here, all of us podcasters, to give our opinion. But I'm glad that they have access to their own vault. I'm glad the vault is free, as they've been proclaiming. So it gives me a lot. So now I know a lot of you have been wary of my episode. I'm kind of disappointed because I had done this 2 years prior, predictions, and those numbers have been through the roof. But I know everybody's been so burnt out and divided and like, oh, we don't care what comes out. But go back and check that video out, because now that even raises the questions. What could we get now? I'm excited. I'm excited to see what's coming up next. What do you guys think? Is this good news for you? The vault is free. This is like 1996 all over again. This is, You might as well, call it every really Purple Rain Super Deluxe, the Emancipation release, or um, the symbol, love symbol Super Deluxe, the Emancipation release. We should have, all kind of goodies, and now we're back to speculating and hope has been restored to the galaxy. And like I said, no shade against Netflix or Ezra Edelman, but sadly, I think from what it sounds like, the narrative that Netflix and Ezra Edelman were going for, um, like I said, I don't think that it would, if they were hoping to get more mainstream viewers. I know Netflix, their thing is like, ooh, the more controversial, the more subscribers we can get. And really, to be honest, and let this be a lesson to you, Netflix, is that you don't, with somebody that iconic, you don't have to have a TMZ style production, National Enquirer production. You don't have to do, literally controversy to get those subscribers. Prince is who he is and who he always was. And trust me, the music will bring, even if all somebody knows is just Purple Rain, that's going to be enough to get, because then hopefully by the end of it, they would have been on board with the rest of us. But, I'm hoping too that the estate, keep true to your word, let it be a balanced piece, let it celebrate the life and the artistry. And I'm anxious to see what you come up with. Hey, maybe too simple, but what do you think about Questlove? I mean, actually, once I see the Sly Stone documentary, and I love Summer of Soul, um, I don't think that as a documentary filmmaker, I don't think that he is a flash in the pan. Um, but I am anxious to see where he goes with that Sly documentary. And after I see that, yeah, if I am over the moon for that, then why not bring him on board? I know he said at one point he was too close to it to do it, but I can't think of anyone more qualified. If you guys know any directors, I wouldn't mind Spike Lee doing it, but my one thing with Spike is I don't want to see some piece at the end. I don't want to see a poetry piece at the end done by folks. It's just like, just focus on, we know that people love, Prince, so we don't need to see that. Just tell the story and do that. And I know he could do a good job with that, but that's just my one complaint. My one complaint. But what do you guys think? Who would you think would be a good director, since we're getting a Prince Estate approved documentary probably within 2027? What releases are you now excited for? Go back and see what my predictions were on the 2025 predictions. Do you share some of those views? Let me know in the comments. And also, thanks for tuning in. Please hit like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, become a Patreon supporter. Going to record my Jimi Hendrix episode finally tomorrow. So definitely be on the lookout for that. And until next time, create your day, create your life. Peace.